Assalamu alaikum, Quran Weekly, and an early Ramadan Mubarak to all of you that are watching. I want to share a quick Hajj story with all of you. The day of Arafah was undoubtedly probably the most spiritually enlightening experience of my whole life. And of course, the entire day of Arafah at Hajj can be summed up as an exercise in dua. So the whole day of making dua, and by the way, since I'm on the subject, there are two books I really recommend every Muslim family should own, and you should just have in your home lying around, even multiple copies of it. So whenever you have a spare time, open up and start reading a dua. The first is Fortress of the Muslim, and the second is Accepted Whispers. Both of those books, if you can find them inshallah, I highly, highly recommend having them. Anyway, I had both of those books at Hajj, and I'm going through all of the du'as, right? And I'm just pondering over every du'a and just making them. I sat in one spot the entire day, didn't move. And the whole day comes to an end, and we see our Hajj group leader, Sheikh Umar Sulaiman, of course. I see him afterwards, and he's like, so, what was your favorite du'a? What was the one du'a that kept coming up in your mind and you kept doing over and over again? And I was like, okay, on the count of three, we'll say each of our favorite du'as. And we ended up saying the same exact du'a. And it was this one. Of the hundreds of du'as we read that day, it was the same exact du'a. It's very beautiful and very powerful, very close to my heart and very close to his, probably because of the line of work we're in and the kinds of stuff that we're trying to do. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, or teaches, the Prophet teaches us in this dua. This is narrated by Salama. It's in Ibn Majah. It's a Sahih Hadith narration. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an. The first part of the hadith is, or the dua is, oh Allah, I ask you of knowledge that is beneficial. Ilman nafi'an. Now, nafi' in Arabic is a powerful word because it doesn't just mean the one that benefits you, it means benefits others too. So it's something, now the quality of knowledge that I seek is something that will make me a better person, it'll benefit me in some way, it'll help my family life, it'll help me personally grow, and at the same time it'll be of benefit to others. That's the first thing. Obviously, as a student of knowledge, and as someone who's trying to study something about the Qur'an, constantly you want to learn things that are of benefit. And yet sometimes you will learn things that aren't of benefit, and we ask Allah to just kind of stick to the stuff that will make us better and keep, stay relevant and beneficial for ourselves and for others. That's the first. And believe you me, when it comes to any knowledge, including Islamic knowledge, there are plenty of tangents and tangential kinds of subjects that you can get into and get neck deep into that at the end of the day don't have too much benefit. They only have benefit for maybe some researcher or something, but not for the average Muslim. So the first part of this dua, very powerful. Ya Allah, I ask you for knowledge that is beneficial, that benefits me and benefits others. The second, he says, wa rizqan tayyiban. And I ask you for provision that is good and pure. Tayyib includes two things, goodness in it, something that pleases, something that's good to me, something that I enjoy, and at the same time something that's pure, meaning the word halal is kind of included inside the word tayyib. Its permissibility, its goodness is inherent. Because the only things Allah made halal for us are things that are tayyib. The filthy things, يُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِثِ or يُحَرِّمْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. Allah prohibits filthy things from us. So by definition, haram things are filthy, and by definition, halal things are good and pure. So we ask Allah for, in this second part of the dua, I'm asking Allah for provision, sustenance, income, that is good and pure. So my job should be good and pure. The way I make my money should be good and pure. The way I spend it should be good and pure. The food I eat should be good and pure. The drinks I drink should be good and pure. The places I purchase from should be good and pure. All of it captured in one, like me as a consumer, a responsible consumer of all the things I take in should be good and pure. So one was about knowledge, nourishing myself, in the spiritual and in the intellectual sense, and the next is about nourishing my body, nourishing my physical being, my home. All of it should be rizqan tayyiban, good, healthy, pure provision. And then the last part of this dua, wa amalan mutaqabbalan, what matters the most at the end, and I ask you for deeds that are acceptable, or rather accepted. Not acceptable. Acceptable is probably not even the right word here. Accepted deeds. Mutaqabbal, that which has been accepted. Meaning, Ya Allah, don't let me do anything that isn't good enough, or that was done for the wrong reason. Keep me on point, keep me on track. Obviously, all of you know actions are based on intentions in Islam, right? So that by saying accepted deed, it's already implying that the intention should be good. You can't possibly have an accepted deed without the intention being right. So you didn't even have to ask for the correct intention in this dua because of the comprehensive and eloquent nature of amalan mutaqabbalan. Because of that, it's already covered. And the other thing in that is, sometimes your intentions are good, but what you do isn't based on authentic or good knowledge. You're doing something out of ignorance. And you think it's good, but it's actually not. The first part of this dua make sure that you have beneficial knowledge. So the actions you will take are going to be those that are based on beneficial knowledge. Like Allah says, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Don't follow what you don't have knowledge of. So the last part is, I ask you for deeds that are acceptable. وَعَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. And I'm speaking to you right now, and I make dua as I'm speaking to you, that this is عَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. This is an accepted deed. Anybody who watches this and benefits and says, let me share this with my cousin, my family, my uncle, my aunt, my parents or whatever, and they benefit, I ask Allah that Allah accepts that from you and accepts that from me. That's عَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. So عِلْمًا نَافِعًا, and then رِزْقًا طَيِّبًا, and then عَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. And I argue, if a person has these three things in their life, they don't really need anything else. They're good. You're set. You know, what more can you ask Allah for? At the end of the day, all of our life will boil down to what we did that was worth something, and what we did that was worthless. People whose deeds are worthless come before Allah, and Allah says, you know, خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Their scales are lightened. Another place He says, فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. They brought all the kinds of things that they had done, it was turned into dust that scattered away. SubhanAllah, the deeds weren't accepted, you know. So we want, and Allah brings another, you know, so many examples in the Qur'an of people bringing their deeds on Judgment Day and presenting them to Allah, and them not being acceptable. And then they're offering ransom. You know, مِلْءُ الْأَرْضِ ذَهَبًا وَلَوْ اِفْتَدَى بِهِ. Even if they presented the weight of the earth in gold, it wouldn't be taken in ransom for them. So at the end of the day, all we can have is deeds that are acceptable. Three things. And the first two are actually the prerequisites of the third. That's the last part I want to share with you. Beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge. What does that beneficial knowledge do? It cleans your mind, it cleans your heart. That's what it does. It puts your intentions in the right place, it makes you remember Allah, it puts things in perspective. That's what beneficial knowledge does. It's a cleanser. What does good and pure rizq do? It cleanses you. What you take in doesn't corrupt you. You could have beneficial knowledge, but you're eating haram food, or earning haram money and eating what you think is halal food, but isn't halal food anymore, because you're earning it through haram money. Then what's happening to you? Your insides are getting corrupted. You're spiritually getting corrupted. And when you're corrupted on the inside, your deeds are no good. So the first two things clean you up on the inside. And when you're clean on the inside and your heart is clean, then the deeds you do are sincere and they're acceptable. وَعَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. It's a very powerful three-step, process in the cleansing of a human being that is so eloquently captured inside this very, very beautiful dua. I pray that all of you memorize this dua and use it like all the time. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an wa rizqan tayyiban wa amalan mutaqabbalan ya arhamar rahimin. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum. Quran Weekly, and again, Ramadan Mubarak.